So this is going to be kind of a quick preface to doing the Gooch coolant flush procedure. This is a full coolant flush procedure for your 7.3 Powerstroke. You know, it's the best one out there. It's written up by Gooch, who's a popular and well-respected coolant expert, believe based out of Alaska, but real well-known and respected in the diesel world. So in this video, I'm going to include all the part numbers. All the part numbers are going to be included, the tools. I'll have them in the description. I'll also have them at the beginning of the video, listed out on the screen. And I just want to go over a few things real quick. So just a few tips. You do want to use the flushing tee and not just hook your hose up to your water hose, not hook up your water hose to your heater line, because that could damage your cooling system. The purpose of the flushing tee, I believe it's a 3/8 or 5/8, don't quote me, but it restricts the flow to prevent damage, too much pressure in the cooling system. Another thing, you know, be on a level surface. If your driveway, another important thing I want to point out is you want to have a torque wrench for your thermostat bolts. There's 3 bolts, they're 8mm. You do not want to over tighten those and strip it out, because it's an aluminum housing, so you could easily end up stripping something out, and you don't want to have to replace the water pump. They're torqued to 15 foot-pounds. I did 3 flushes with distilled water, not 2, but 2 to 3 is the recommended one. When refilling, don't use the 50-50 premix, because the purpose of this, when you're done, you're still going to have distilled water in the block, so you want to get a perfect 50-50 ratio. So if you use 4 gallons of coolant and you top off with distilled water, that way you're 100% sure to have a 50-50. Don't buy the premix stuff. And you're replacing this with the Red ELC, which is, Cat 1 spec. There's no SCA requirements. This is also newer coolant technology, so it's superior to the green and the gold, which require the use of SCAs, the initial dose plus the upkeep. And the coolant technology has come pretty far in that regard. And so, it even has better anti-corrosion properties, anti-cavitation. It's come pretty far. So, also I would, something else I would do, I would add in a coolant filtration system. I got mine from Riffraff Diesel. I haven't installed it yet, but that's coming up next. Especially because these higher miler engines, are going to have debris and stuff. Obviously we're going to get that out with the flush, but you could have flaking over time inside your block. Flaking that could come off. And because this is an ELC, you're not going to need to, change your coolant, for, 1,000,000 miles or 8 years, whichever comes first for this, depending on the brand. Some brands might be 500 to 700,000. Just recapping the green versus the gold versus the red. So green was used in the OBS Powerstrokes up until the early 1999s, the February of 1999s. And just to clarify things, because there's confusion, some confusion around this. The information's out there if you do your reading and per Gooch as well. But you don't want to use, if you have a 99, early 99 February, prior or OBS, you don't, it's recommended to just stick with the green and stick with the addition, the green with the SCAs, additives, because I'll quote Gooch and I'll read it real quick to what he said in regards to that. So it's mostly because of the injector cups. It's the sealants. International, who made the engine, found some compatibility issues with the older injector cups material, the sensors, front cover, seals, gaskets, O-rings, etc., and probably some other stuff when using coolants that contain oats or the organic acid technology. So coolants like ELCs, usually red, and or GO5, usually gold, will have these oats. Conventional coolants like green will not. So International revised those components on all February 2nd, 1999 on up. Build engines, and then the serial number is 940614 and up, and began recommending and factory filling with HD heavy-duty ELC extended life coolant mid-year 2000. Never looked back. So you could use the heavy-duty ELCs in older engines, but you run the risk of having to replace the cups and maybe some other stuff. I always try to recommend, this is Gooch still speaking, conventional coolant meeting the ASTM D4985 with SCA, or pre-charged conventional coolant meeting ASTM D6210 for those. But it's your call, and some owners use the ELC in their older engines successfully. For the February 2nd, 1990 up builds, I would recommend upgrading to the heavy-duty ELC. So yeah, the red is the way to go. There's more I could talk about the red and stuff, but I'm just going to try to keep this intro short. If you have any questions or anything, I can answer them in the comments. But it's highly recommended to switch to the red, mainly because it's not just, you know, you don't have to add SCAs, you don't really have to change your coolant. Again, for many years, it's the coolant itself is superior in the anti-corrosion properties, the anti-cavitation, and just the general cooling and effect it has on your engine and system. Like I said, the coolant has come very far, and especially it's noteworthy that the you know, the green and the gold, in addition with the SCAs, and gold does need SCAs. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. They found that the gold does need them, despite what you read. The only, you know, some of the issues they found, that the particles and stuff over time, that, I mean, this is why you change it frequently, but I mean, even infrequent changes, you can't get away from this, that there's still particles that become unsuspended in these mixtures and formulations that ends up clogging oil passages or the oil cooler passages and different you know, system passages over time and stuff. So that's another reason to upgrade to something superior. Now, if you have the OBS and stuff, the main thing, which I've heard, I mean, I quoted Gooch, which you just heard, but if you change your injector cups or sealants, you should be good, because it's mainly that issue. Even if you don't, like Gooch said, you very well, I mean, there's guys who have done this and haven't had any issues switching to the red with their older trucks, but he still recommends the green with the conventional coolant, which is the green with the addition of the SCA. So I hope this video will be helpful. All the part numbers, tools, everything's in the description as well. The video, if you have any comments, leave them below. So we're doing the Gooch flush procedure. You drain the radiator at the Peacock. We're gonna pull the lower radiator hose, pull the degas bottle cap, and then we got us a pull to make it easier. Next, we're gonna hit the two drain plugs on the block, on the driver's side and then on the passenger side. And then once all that's drained, we're gonna hook everything back up and then move on to the next step. Okay, so this is gonna be the plug right here. This one's for the oil. It's not that one, it's this one right here. So you can see how coolant, you can see coolant starting well, if my camera stops fuzzing out, but it's this one right here. See how coolant is already pouring out? I loosened it, so I'm gonna just unscrew it, and then we're gonna do our other one on the other side, and it's just gonna land in our pool. So just recapping, we got our petcock opened and drained, we got our lower radiator hose pulled, and then we're gonna hit this one, and then we're gonna hit the drivers. And that's why you want to pull, because you can see exactly where it's landing. So yeah. Also forgot to mention, these are a 1/4 socket. So my recommendation is having you an extension, you know, something like that. Okay, this next one is right over the starter. So you got the starter right there. See it? Right there. Right there, where the corner's pointing. You're probably just gonna need to go by feel. So we're just gonna get our arm in there, up above. And then we're just gonna, like that, and have to go by feel. Okay, passenger side is drained. That was kind of tricky. You want to use one of these, or you don't have to, but this is the type of setup that you want. It's a little tricky to get above. You just got to be patient. But I use this to wedge in between to pry it. Okay, we're gonna reinstall, now that it's drained, we're gonna reinstall the passenger block plug, finger tight. We're gonna reinstall the driver, finger tight. We're gonna hook the lower radiator hose back up, put our clamp on it, and then we're gonna close the petcock. So just recap those 4 things I just mentioned. We're gonna seal everything back up, just finger tight. And then we're gonna go ahead and pull the thermostat after. See, it's right there. So we're gonna plug it back in. I came from the other side to get it. And the only thing I had issues with is it's, they're not super tight on there. I mean, they're just perfect, but being that you don't have a lot of room for leverage, just finger tight. I stuck so I came like this. Okay, so it's right here. You get your ratchet. So my finger, this is the head of the ratchet. You get it on there, and then when you try to, when I'm trying to push up, sorry if I'm, let me zoom out. So your ratchet's on there, right? Because the head of the ratchet's right there. And then you're trying to push up, right? To break it, you're pushing this way. So what I did, I took a long screwdriver, a big screwdriver, and I put it underneath, and I went like that. So basically I used my leverage to bring the ratchet like that via the screwdriver. Just be careful with the hoses, but you see that lip right here? This lip, right where my finger, you wedge the screwdriver, and then you and then it's gonna lift it up. So might have been a little bit of excessive in explaining, but I think it'll be helpful, because I was having trouble getting it, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. So just do the drivers real quick. Working in the dark, but we can still see. I don't know if it's showing up on camera. Right where my index fingertip is. So just finger tight. Okay, that's good. Finger tight. And then we're gonna throw this back on. Close this petcock. And then just take a Okay, next is the thermostat. We're gonna take this clamp off the upper radiator hose, and we're gonna change out this hose too. We have new hoses back there. We're also gonna change out our lower hose, and we're gonna change out our degas bottle hose. But that'll come when we're done with all this. So we're gonna take this off to get to our thermostat. These tension clamps can be pretty darn tough to, they're good, but I don't really like them in the sense of, I'd swap them out for the, we got the hose off. We're gonna loosen these. It's an 8mm, and this is not an 8mm. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's like this on every truck, but that could have been some type of modification from the last owner. I'm not sure. It looks like a 10. So after getting the hose off, we're gonna take 1, 2, 3. Take them all off. Use a long extension to get this one, makes it easier. Once you take it off, take off the housing, pull out the thermostat, and then we're gonna reinstall the housing with the original seal without the thermostat, and then we're gonna hook our hose back up, and then we're gonna get to the heater line, make a cut into the heater line, and we're gonna have this one right here. We're gonna tie it in, clamp it, hook up our hose, and then start the heavy flush procedure. But one step at a time. I'm just kind of giving a preface of what's to come. So let's get this off, and you know, be careful too, because that's an aluminum housing, I think, with steel bolts. So also you need to have a torque wrench. You torque it to 15 foot-pounds, no more, when you're reinstalling your new thermostat with the new housing. So be very careful as to not strip something, because then you'll have to replace that, I think, that whole assembly, and you don't want to, definitely don't want to do that. Okay, take off this last. We got the two 8mm. This is a 10, so I think, I don't know if this is standard, but it should be ready to. Okay. We're gonna. Okay. Take the thermostat out and then reinstall this with the original gasket. We're not going to use our new thermostat right there or our new housing. We got our new hoses too. We're going to wait till we do the hose flush, and then when we run the distilled water through, and when after the coolant's ready to go in, that's when we'll put on our fresh products. Yeah, it almost looks like some gasket maker was put on. I could be wrong. Could just be heat. Maybe part of this broke down, melted, I don't know. But we're gonna clean the mating surfaces, and then we're gonna clean that, and then yeah, these are all the same thread. So these are the They're all the same, because you all got the same thread set up in there. I don't know why the phone's blurring out right like that. I think it's a camera issue. So yeah, it was just a head that was different size. So that makes sense. So we're gonna go ahead and clean the surface real quick, reinstall it with the old gasket, and then we're gonna hook our hose back up, and then we're gonna tie in our water hose with the T flush fitting right there. Okay, we got our hose back on, and remember, we took out our thermostat, so all we have on is our thermostat gasket, our thermostat housing, and then we put the hose back on. Now we're gonna go ahead and cut the hose. This one, we're gonna cut halfway, and then we're gonna tie in this piece right there, and then we're gonna tighten it with these two clamps, and then we're gonna hook that to our hose. And I'm just gonna keep this on my vehicle, God willing. It's not gonna affect the integrity. So okay, we got the heater hose cut. Go ahead and, well, first we're gonna add these on. So okay. No reason to take the heater hose off. That's a 5/8 fitting. Let me see what else they got. So I'm pretty sure it's a. So they got a 3/4, and that's going to be too small. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is diameter is too big. I don't think we're getting that on. Yeah, I just wanted to see. All right, so back. All right, we'll just tighten it up real good. And we'll go ahead and hook our hose up. And we got our cap to cap it when we are finished with the flush. So it's pretty cool, this kit. I'll leave it in the description, God willing. Yeah, this is the attachment, and we're just gonna hook this up. I believe the black side goes to here, and then the yellow side's for the hose. And, just hook it up like so. Cool. Ready to turn on the hose. I'm gonna cover my battery cables real quick. You can hear it. And this fitting is important because you know, you're not going to damage your cooling system from overpressuring. This regulates via the diameter. So make sure there's no kinks. That's good. And remember, your degas bottle cap is open. And it's gonna pretty much backflow. Should be seeing it come up pretty soon. Okay, we rehooked the battery to start our truck. We got our little shield. Probably wouldn't hit the cables anyway, but just to be safe. So we got the heater on max, and then we got it on T. Okay. All right, next step, shut off the garden hose. Then we're gonna open all our drains. That's the petcock. Open this. And this is just water, so no need to catch it. Same with the lower radiator hose. And same with the block plugs. We'll let that little river clear up, or stream. Driver's side is open. You can see right where my index finger's at, it's pouring out. Plug right there. We'll go through the passenger side. Be sure not to lose that. Right here, where my finger is moving. Remember, we put a finger tight, so yeah, I don't want to get soaked. But that's just sometimes the way it goes. undo our hose. And then we'll put our cap back on. Nice and tight. And we'll just tuck that. That's fine right there, I think. Okay. Okay, next step is to reinstall them. This isn't permanently, just we're about to add distilled water. So we'll go ahead and put this back on. To be honest, I'm gonna just, because this is a tension clamp and it's hard to grab, I'm just gonna leave it off. Hose is on, but our tension clamp is gonna be left off. And we'll go ahead and put our 2 plugs back on. So we're doing that now. I'm not gonna show this part. Alrighty, just a quick check. Our peacock is closed, lower radiator hose reattached, and our driver's side and passenger side block plug is back on, and we got our hose fitting capped off. We're just gonna leave it like that. It's time to add distilled water. I bought, I think, around 30 to 32 gallons because the water isn't that great over here. So where the water is a little better, you only need to do 2. That's what's recommended on the flush procedure, but I'm going to go ahead and do 3 flushes. See, it's dropping a little bit, so just keep an eye on it. Let it run for about a couple minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, we just shut off the engine. It ran for about 5-6 minutes. Now we're gonna drain everything. Starting at the peacock. So this completes, this is 1 flush with distilled water. We're gonna do 2 more. So, and then we'll drain. Pull this. Remember, it's pretty easy. It's pretty nice because it's just finger tight, so. Okay, time to fill it back up. Everything is plugged. Lower radiator hose, peacock, and both block drain plugs. We're gonna fill it up with distilled water. After it's topped off, we'll run the engine for 5 to 6 minutes, rinse and repeat. And then when that's done, turn off the engine, drain it again. And for those with good water in their city, that would be sufficient. But I'm gonna do it 1 more time to make 3. That's not necessary, but so it just depends how many minerals and what type of stuff they're adding in the water. So, okay, we got her filled back up. Now we're gonna run the engine for another 5 to 6 minutes with the heater on. We're gonna top off as needed. Let it run for 5-6 minutes. Top off as needed. Kill it. Drain it. Again, both block plugs, the peacock, lower radiator hose, and that completes the second flush. Now I'm gonna do one more flush after that, like I said, and then we'll get to reinstalling everything permanently, all our connections, and then we'll go ahead and put our new thermostat on with the new housing and new gasket, and we're also gonna put on our new hoses, upper radiator hose, lower radiator hose, and our coolant reservoir hose. Also want to point out, you want to do this on a level surface. So if you got a slanted driveway like mine, get you some ramps. Or you can just jack it up. I found this is a little bit safer than running with jack stands at an angle. So just wanted to make note of that, because you need the block for the engine to be level of how it is normally, because you don't want to air bubbles when you're refilling this at an angle. You can have weird things happen, so just do it on a level surface for sure. Okay, we got everything screwed back on and reconnected. We're just filling it back up. So this is the third flush and final. And then we have that set aside for our, when we go to add our coolant. But we're gonna add the coolant first, because this takes 8 gallons exactly. So we add in our 4 gallons of antifreeze. That way we know for a fact that we have 100, a 50-50 ratio. You don't want to add distilled water in first, because there's still going to be a little distilled water, a little bit in the block. So by adding 4 gallons of antifreeze, you're gonna 100% for sure have a 50-50 ratio, because you're just going to be adding whatever it takes out of that and just top it off as you continually drive the truck. And it'll push all the air out and stuff, air bubbles. Okay, now that we're topped off, we're gonna go start the truck. Running for another 5 to 7 minutes, 5 to 6. The click in your hair is my clutch, engaging and disengaging. Okay, so we got our 2 engine block plugs back in. Our peacock is closed. Our hose, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna swap out all our hoses. So we're gonna take off our lower radiator, upper radiator, and then we're gonna take off our coolant reservoir hose that runs down there to the radiator. And then we'll tackle the thermostat next, clean it real well, and put on our new housing, gasket, and thermostat. You take it off thermostat. Remember to torque when we're putting them back on. We're going to torque them to 15 pounds. Phone's glitching out, but yeah, you don't want to over torque them because that's an aluminum housing body in here, so definitely don't want to put too much pressure or torque with these type of screws. Took a little wire brush and got the part where the gasket sits pretty clean. So your new thermostat comes with a gasket. We're gonna put this vent to the back. So okay, it seats nicely. Okay, just line it up with that. And we'll take our housing. And also be careful, I want to point out, when this thermostat is out, and you're taking these screws out, be careful not to drop anything in there, because if you do, it's going to be kind of a nightmare to fish out. And then we're gonna get everything snug, and then we're just gonna bolt. And we're just gonna go back and forth evenly. We'll start torquing. Got it set at 14. They're rated for 15 pounds. Just keep rotating. Okay, we got our new hose, got our clamps on. The upper radiator hose is on and secure. We'll come get our lower radiator hose, get the top part, and then we'll get it from the bottom and then swap it out. Time for the lower. Okay, we got the lower radiator hose hooked back up. It's hooked at the bottom, so we're just swapping out this hose and reconnect the batteries, both sides, and we can start filling with the ELC Red Coolant. right in my case, just pumping the 5 gallon into single gallons. So if you don't have this 5 gallon coolant setup like I do, if you just bought the individual bottles, you're not going to need to do this. If you go with this brand, you can get it on Amazon. I would recommend this. I did some research on Triax. They're pretty good. It's you can see on the side, it's Cat EC1 certified John Deere. I mean, alternatively, you can also go with the Red Cat coolant, which is a really high quality coolant. You can just look at the major brands that are listed on the Powerstroke Gooch coolant flush write-up and go with any one of those. Test driving, added my 4 gallons of Red ELC, topping off with distilled water, got the heater on full blast to open up the heater core. We're gonna try to get the RPMs up. It is blowing hot though, so that's good. I know my thermostat's working, which is real good. Sometimes you can get faulty thermostats, surprisingly. I've heard it's more common than you think. But just top off as needed. I would drive personally with to get all the air out the block. Drive with the cap off. It could take upwards of 30 to 40 minutes even. But you can leave the cap off to work all the bubbles out. We've been kind of topping off as it is, but turn on the heater full blast to open up the heater core as well. And ride with the cap off a little bit. All right, so we've been driving a little bit. Low RPMs are probably safer. You can go on hills, try to find steep inclines or not. But you can see we're topping off just, this is the low mark is right here. So after driving a little while on different inclines, that's good. It takes time to work the air out your system. Running the cap on and off at different variables is good because it creates different pressures. You know, so you can start with the cap on and then take it off. Patience is required, so. Because the goal is to eliminate the hot spots, which are from air bubbles. Okay, we'll drive a little bit more with the cap on. Take it off. Try to go on a few different angles, and that should be good. We got a pretty decent grade right here. This is actually pretty. So if you want to make a few circles, find a little spot like this. People might look at you weird, but let's go make another round. Just to you know, move the fluids to all parts of the blocks and through the cooling system. Remember our radiator. All right, here we go, second time. Okay, we'll do one more time and that should be good.